Did you ever hope to find an ancient burial ground at the top of a hill so you could try to resurrect your family's cat? Just minus the evil behaviors that come with it being undead.
Did you ever wish you could take revenge on all the high school bullies at prom with telekinetic powers? Just minus the pig's blood dumped on your head first?
If you have ever had a fear of clowns, sewers, old hotels, rabid dogs, and possessed cars, you might be a Xennial and a Stephen King fan. I don't know why I've been singing every time we do.
Girl.
I've noticed that the past 2 episodes, why do I do that?
Fan.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Danny.
And I'm Katie, and you're listening to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast where we revisit, remember, and sometimes relearn all kinds of things from our 80s childhoods and 90s teen young adulthoods. Today, we are continuing with spooky season and our spooky episodes. Y'all may have heard our first one when we did our scary stories to tell in the dark episode. And I honestly thought Labyrinth was a little scary, so I'm going to put that in there. I know everyone's throwing things at their device right now. But anyway, spooky season continues. If you haven't listened to those episodes yet, head on back in our feed and check them out.
Yes. And, we cannot talk about scary things in the 80s and 90s without talking about the master horror storyteller himself, Mr. Stephen King, right? And so today, everyone, we have another special guest with us because we can't be experts on everything. We try. We have a self-professed super fan himself and our friend, Hunt Fitch. Let's go.
Yes. So
welcome, Hunt.
Yes, Hunt. Hunt Fitch is not only a horror fanatic, which he is, he's a local engineer local to the Melbourne area, a jack of all trades at the Henniger Center, and a community volunteer with local organizations such as the American Cancer Society and Space Coast Pride Fest. Yes. So welcome, Hunt. Say hello.
Hello. It's so good to be here.
Yes, we're so happy. We've already had a very exciting morning with Hunt
Jesus
here
Christ.
Before we hit record.
Listen, thank God Hunt was here, or Katie and I would have just been like...
We would have gone home.
Yeah, it's really dumb. And not to sit in gender stereotypes, because we don't like to do that on Generation in Between. But I am terrified of giant bugs. I don't even care. The biggest fear of my life is giant cockroaches or palmetto bugs, because I've had pest control people tell me twice they are not the same thing, but whatever. They're both big and gross and crunchy. And it is my biggest fear in life. And one of them almost killed me this morning.
Okay. Yeah. So we were in the kitchen at our studio where we record, and Hunt had just got here, and we're all just kind of getting ready, getting our coffee, all the things. And Danny went to get her coffee mug out of the cupboard, and there was I think it was a cockroach or a palmetto bug.
It was a palmetto bug. It flew.
Oh. Did it fly?
It flew.
Oh, see? Everyone? They're evil demons from hell. I hate them.
When I released it, it flew away. It was all happy.
Hunt is a no-kill philosophy, so he actually took a few minutes.
Good for Hunt.
And got the bug into his paper towel and released him into the wild.
The funny thing was, I scream, run out of the room, and I stay out of the room. And I hear Katie and Hunt just calmly talking about how to remove the thing. They're like, "Oh, did you hide behind the mugs? Oh, come here, you little bug. La, la, la." And I'm like, "Squash the MFer. What are you guys doing?" And Hunt's like, "I don't kill bugs." I'm like, "I don't either unless they come in my space. If you're in my house, you did."
Look, I'm a horror fanatic. I see enough killing. I don't want to do it myself.
That's fair.
You did it in real life.
Yes.
Just pretend.
Yeah.
And I am not I don't like real life violence except for gross bugs. I hate them. It's my biggest fear. And here's why. I'm going to tell you the short story and then we're going to get into life. But this could be a Stephen King movie, actually, once you hear a story. So I grew up in Louisiana. We're in Florida now. Bug situation is the same. I mean, it's hot. It's humid. It's gross. It's a breeding ground for giant bugs. And bugs are a way of life. You can't not have bugs when you live in a place like this. So I was a small child and we had, for some reason, our house had a fireplace. Okay. Makes no sense. I can think of twice ever in 18 years that we ever used that thing. But it was a house built in the 60s probably. And the way the fireplace worked was it had the little thing on the back where you could sweep it out in the backyard. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So you could clean the ashes out without doing it in your house.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we would get bats stuck in there.
Oh my God.
Oh, this story is just so gross. And it has stayed with me for so long. So there was this little thingy, and all these people listening are like, oh my God, you don't know the proper words to anything. Hello, have we met? No, I don't. So there's this little latch that you could close the chimney
the
top.
flume.
There.
That's what it's called.
That's why we have him here
Mhm.
today, because he knows proper things.
Because I just had to close mine.
Oh, you did? You have a fireplace?
I have a fireplace in my house, yeah.
See, why?
Because it was a thing. I don't know. Like, I've literally used it once
Okay.
in the 3 years that I've been in my
Do
home.
you have a little thing in the back to sweep the
I
stuff
do
out?
not, though. Mine's
Okay.
gas, so.
Okay, well, be glad when I tell you the story. You're going to be so excited. So we used to get bats. And even though, we would forget to shut the thing, or there was, like, a hole in it, or, like, whatever. So sometimes we would, like, hear the bats. And when, like, the bug person would come, they'd fumigate in there, and then, like, the bats would, like, die. I know, sorry, Hunt. So it was the 80s, okay?
Hunt's
so,
leaving.
so, I know. I know. So, okay. So we're hearing this, like, and you could hear them sometimes, like, scratching.
Mm.
So my mom was like, oh, okay, they're it's probably bats again. So she goes in the backyard, not to kill it, but to open the back thing so it can leave. Y'all, when she opened the back door of the chimney, I swear to you, it was like Moses parting the Red Sea, but it was cockroaches. And they just swarmed out of the, like, I'm talking a colony of giant ass palmetto bugs. Just swarmed. And my sister and I were inside watching, and we were like, and my mom was just
like, what do you do?
Y'all.
Yeah.
Yes. That is burned. Now, my mom's probably going to be, or my sister's going to be like, Danny, there was like 5. Swear to you, in my memory, all I remember is just swarms of cockroaches.
Yeah.
Palmetto bugs.
Like a Stephen King book,
See?
honestly.
So now you know, like, that is why I have a fear. Then also one time when I was in college, I was at a party and I had to go to the bathroom, and I had been drinking a few beers. And you know, once you start going to the bathroom, like peeing, like you can't stop. Once you break that seal, it's coming. There was a giant bug as big as the one we saw today coming up the wall. And I was like, oh my God, I have to finish. And it flew to my face and landed on my shoulder while I went to the bathroom.
And you can't stop going to the bathroom. Like,
and so I'm
you just have to
literally
sit there
screaming at the top of my lungs while I'm urinating. No, see,
that happened.
But like, did it help you like finish peeing? Because like,
Yeah.
it scared the piss out of you.
You didn't need help finish peeing, Hunt. I had drank like 6 beers or something stupid. Like, I was
free
fine.
flowing.
It was awful. I came out crying.
Everyone's like, what happened in there?
They're like, oh, it's just Danny again.
Hello?
She's crying about now.
Oh my God.
Anyway, okay, so that was
okay.
both of those things could be Stephen King movies. So
They
there you go.
could. So it's funny you mentioned fireplaces, actually.
Oh.
So I was rewatching some of my favorite Stephen King movies
Yay.
in preparation for this.
Can't wait.
And I have a fireplace in my house, like we've established. And it's a gas one, so it has a top, it has a little filter thing to keep the rain and things from coming in. Well, for some reason, vultures and hawks like to keep attacking it. I have no idea why.
The top of your chimney?
Yeah. I'll just hear like random like scratching and stuff like that. Like they're pecking at it. Well, it's like almost midnight. Like I'm watching a movie.
By yourself?
Yes.
Oh my God, of course.
And we'll get into my favorite movie later. But
Okay,
we're watching my favorite movie. And it's like a really intense scene. And then all of a sudden, something hacks at the top of my chimney and it echoes down. And I don't get scared of movies. I jumped off my couch.
Oh my God.
Did you pee your pants?
No. But
You're not
I would
middle-aged
have.
yet.
no, not yet.
No. We'll get into that too.
But no, I like jumped off my couch and I'm just like the stupid freaking fireplace. Like I hate
Oh
this.
my
And that's when
God.
I went to go close my flume because I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
noises.
No
Oh
more.
my God.
Oh,
We were
that
going to
would
talk
scare
about
me.
fireplaces today.
Yeah.
Look at us.
I don't
Okay, so
I don't have
Hunt,
any good fireplace stories.
I'm just going to go like a performance.
That was my contribution. You're welcome. Let's keep going.
okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, Hunt, we just said you weren't middle-aged yet, right? So you're not a Xennial, correct?
I am not.
You're
I'm
a millennial.
I'm a millennial.
We love our millennials. That's
Yep.
okay. We're on the cusp of you guys.
But I was raised by Gen Z parents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I have Xennial siblings.
Yeah.
So because I was the youngest. So
you were raised by Gen X parents then, yeah?
Yeah.
Gen X.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gen
you
X.
said
said Gen Z, and
Gen
I was
Z.
like,
No,
wait a
sorry.
second.
Back
That's
up, back up. Yeah.
I don't know
Gen-
the alphabet. I
yeah.
studied math.
we thought you were going to come in with all the proper things today, Hunt.
Yeah.
I studied numbers for a reason.
Okay,
Okay, we got this.
Words are hard.
So you have Xennial siblings, though.
I have Xennial siblings.
got it. Yeah.
And so I'm number 5 out of 6 kids.
Okay.
So I'm
Dang.
second youngest. So the older siblings had control over everything.
Oh, so you absorbed.
So like I didn't get to watch like millennial things. I got Xennial things.
Yeah. We're so glad.
And
That's why we love you.
And Hunt came in with his Generation in Between sticker on his water bottle.
It's so great.
He does listen to our podcast, everyone. And yes,
Yes.
we are narcissists and like to have our fans.
We do. We're like, you're a fan? Get over here. What can you talk about? My Little Pony? Let's go.
And also, Hunt did, like, we were talking, Hunt and I bartend together at Henniger, and he was like, you should have me on the show. I was like, okay, it's happening.
Mhm.
And I knew he was a big horror fan, so this is perfect. And,
So great.
Okay, wait. So before, we know he is a super fan, Katie.
Mhm.
Are you a Stephen King fan?
So I know Stephen King to the extent of like what most people culturally know about Stephen King. Like I know some of the big name books and movies, but I don't think I've ever read one of his books. And I've maybe seen
I know, right?
parts of movies, but then you guys reminded me I have seen Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
I saw that one when I was like high school with like a boyfriend because we were going to watch a scary movie, but like I haven't seen the new one. I know he's like super smart. I know he's written stuff that's not horror too.
Yeah.
Like I know he's, a cultural icon and I can agree, but I've never been really immersed in it.
Okay. I mean, I grew up with Stephen King because my mom was a huge horror fan and she was a huge reader. So like Stephen King, like I can remember sitting on her bed, like pulling out, because the cover art in the 80s for his books was so cool.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I remember the cover of Carrie. I remember the cover of Christine. And again, it was the 80s. So we all watched and read shit that we probably shouldn't have
Right.
way too early. And that's why we have so much trauma. We talked about that with Jamila last episode. And I read some of his books, and his books are long AF. Like they're long books. So when you're
They're so detailed though.
that's what I was telling her. I said it takes him 10 minutes to describe a toenail. Like
oh yeah, no, it's the detail you get. You don't have to have an imagination.
No.
Just picture what's going on in his books. Like
correct.
he gives you every gruesome detail, every little thing. Like you're gonna read like the first like chapter of a book and think you're sitting in that house.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's why he's so good at
Mhm.
horror, because like the pictures he paints in your head are amazing. So I was a Stephen King fan, and I like we talked about this before. My relationship with scary stuff has like ebbs and flows through the years.
Mhm.
Like I loved horror when I was a kid. I was a scaredy cat as a kid. Then I liked it as when I was a little older. I loved it when Troy and I started dating 100 years ago, and he was not a big horror fan, and I loved it. But then when I started to have to be alone all the time, being married to somebody who was active duty, I quit for a long time. Then I had kids, and like that shifts your whole brain, and I stopped. But now I'm back. Now I'm back and I like it again. Well, some of it, and we'll talk about that. But okay, so you're kind of no. I'm yes, but not as. And then Hunt is on the other end.
Super yes.
He's like a super horror, and he doesn't just know about Stephen King, guys. He knows a whole lot about horror stuff. So
Well, that's the thing about Stephen King is it's like there's like your traditional like 80s 90s like slasher horror, and then there's like the Stephen King where you get into more of like the psychological stuff, and like it's a different type of horror. Like you have the dude in a mask running around the woods slashing campers, but you're not going to get something like that in some of his more like original stuff. You get the stuff where you're just like, oh, this is deep, this is weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. Like if I could go into somebody's brain for just one day and see what's happening, his would be and then I'd like probably leave and be catatonic, because I don't know. Like you have to be hella smart to be that creative. Like,
well, that was going to be one of my questions. I don't know if you all know or if we're going to get into this, but like what's his deal? Did he have trauma? Is he mentally ill? Is he like or mental health issues?
So Stephen King was born in the late 40s. his dad ran off while he was pretty young, leaving his mom with him and his brother. They relied really heavily on family and friends and they were constantly moving around. They eventually ended up settling in Maine, which is why a lot of the stuff is based in Maine.
Okay, I did know that just from what I've absorbed.
He was like at a very young age, he was really interested in reading and writing and stuff like that. In fact, he went to a local book cart and I think it's a book truck or something. Anyways, he asked, "Is like, give me a book that really describes how kids are," because he was so sick of like the kiddie books that just didn't really work. The librarian gave him Lord of the Flies.
Oh
Dang.
my God.
If you want to know kids, here's kids.
But facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good librarian right there.
And that, I think that kind of like shapes a lot of who he is.
Yeah.
He went to, I think, the University of Maine, met his wife, graduated. He actually got a degree in English and a certificate in teaching.
Yeah.
Was not able to find a job right away because obviously you graduate in May, school starts in September. So like throughout the summer and stuff, he was like writing short stories and selling them to the Cavalier magazine. And actually a lot of his stuff has like kind of resurfaced and like he's republished a lot of his short stories and like books and stuff like that. So if you ever read any of his short stories, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Children of the Corn was a short story.
Yeah.
Not a book.
And the thing is, a lot of like adaptations have come from his short stories or even just been inspired by his short stories. And then so he's teaching at this high school and he's really getting to know teenagers. And that's where we get Carrie.
Yeah.
That was his first.
It's his first one.
That was his first published work.
Like novel.
Novel, yeah.
And then, so that was published in...
I have it down somewhere.
74.
Yeah.
And then less than 2 years later, the movie comes out. Like, it swept the nation. Like, everyone loved this book. They made it a movie immediately. And that kind of, like, made his rise to fame. And then just, like, through the 80s and 90s, it was just book after book after book, movie after movie after movie.
You know, when I was, like, looking up some things, I was, like, actually shocked at how quickly he was writing because his books are not short, like Hunt was saying.
No.
They're detailed and they are long books. And it was just like year after year, sometimes a couple books a year. Like, Katie, you're a writer.
Wow. Yeah.
So you know, like,
that's wild.
Right.
And not to mention, like, you don't just write it and pass it off. There's edits. There's rewriting.
Right.
There's all sorts of stuff that goes into that.
Plus, he had a family. I mean, like he had a family too.
Yeah.
But he does have some demons. We'll get into that, and I'm sure Hannah will bring some stuff up. He was an addict.
Got some demons.
One of his books he wrote on cocaine. Like,
which is one of my favorites.
Is it?
It actually is.
Oh, I can't wait.
That is my favorite.
Maybe I'll read that.
We'll get there. Katie's like, maybe I'll do that one. All right.
It's one of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
Okay, don't tell me yet.
Okay, so while we're here, so now that we're like talking about Stephen King, you know, a little bit of a background, Hunt, we would like to know as a super fan, we want to know if you can remember your first memory of the first time you experienced anything Stephen King, whether that's a book, movie, miniseries, because that's something we'll talk about too. So tell us your first memory.
So my first memory was actually Stephen King's It, which is my favorite.
Is it?
It is. I loved it. It traumatized. My sister's still terrified of clowns to this day.
Same.
But I loved that movie. It was so weird. I loved the oddball group of kids because I kind of identify with a little bit with that, where I'm just like the losers. I'm just like, yep, that's me. And I just really loved it. And then my mom's like, if you love it so much, like, I think we have it on the shelf. And like, it's a thick book.
Oh yeah, it's big. I read it.
And like, that was the first book that I read.
Okay.
And I just fell in love with his writing style and just kind of kept going from there. I actually used to get in trouble a lot in school because whenever we'd have reading assignments, like, I'd read the stupid little book they wanted me to read. And then I'd just like keep going back to what I was reading. And like, whenever we'd have like reading in class, they're just like, you're not reading the right book. I'm like, oh, I already finished that one. This one's better.
Cooper does that.
Yeah. But I always just get in trouble because my English teachers are like, well, you're supposed to be reading that one. I'm like, but I already did.
Well, it's so hard when you have kids who are advanced readers. Like, I've gone through this. I went through this as a kid. Both of my kids have gone through it because you're already done with it and you're bored.
Yeah.
Like, that shit is not keeping you interested. And that is the way we lose readers.
Big time.
Because you make kids read what you think is appropriate. and you weren't interested in it.
Yeah.
Like you liked the scary shit and you wanted grown up words.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet's cute and all, but like
Is it though?
no, it's
cute.
problematic. You all want to talk about problematic
I know,
stories.
for real. I mean,
Shakespeare was on something.
Nostalgic
I
or
know.
problematic? Romeo and Juliet, not the movie. The Shakespeare
movie.
version that was written.
the
That's
actual
what we're going to talk
We
about.
I'm
want
not
to talk
a
about problematic children.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for real. So much. Okay. So what was it, do you think, that, or what is it still that makes you such like a Stephen King fan?
I think
Like the 80s and 90s Stephen King. Let me even narrow it down more.
I think the biggest thing is just like, especially in the books, like the level of detail that he goes into in the books, and then the way he gets involved in the adaptations.
Yeah.
Because especially in the 80s and 90s, he was really heavily involved in like the screenplays and stuff like that was adapted from his books.
Mhm.
And just the way that they really hold true to his books. Like you've seen a lot of books become movies, and
Yeah.
you've seen them like kind of deviate a little bit. Or like just like cut out entire chapters. But with Stephen King stuff, like you get the big, important, meaty pieces without like losing the detail. And especially too, because like there's so much detail in his books
Mhm.
that when they adapt it, like you don't have to go too far off to write a script.
Yeah.
It's a good point. With all the detail too, like
all the
I mean, and
detail.
literally, it's like stage directions in the book.
It's built into it.
Yeah.
And then just the way that these stories like really wrap you in, get you interested. Like you actually care a little bit about the characters. Like you're invested in them.
Yeah.
Pretty early on, or like you're really intrigued to know what is going on here.
Yeah.
Like, why is this woman so obsessed with this author? Like, what is this man doing in prison?
Yes.
What did this girl do to deserve this treatment? Like, why is this car in love with this driver?
Yes. Yes.
Why though? You know,
80s face right now is like, what?
She's like, what are they talking about?
why is he in prison? Yep. Why is she obsessed with an author? Okay. Why is this car possessed or whatever you said?
Christine.
Yeah. And then
We'll get there.
and then also too, like I mean, getting into ones like The Shining and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like just like you're so enthralled by like what is going on, like what is this, what is happening at this hotel, like is this author just losing his mind? Like what is this kid doing with these two little girls? Like, are they real?
I know.
What's happening?
I know. Have you seen The Shining? Oh, girl.
Is that the one with Jack Nicholson in it?
Yeah.
Or Nicholson?
Yes.
Jack
and
Nicholas, isn't he?
is
Jack Nicholson. I can see like the face.
the chopping of the door.
Yeah. But I don't think I'm sure I've seen like that's what I mean.
Red
it's
Rum.
So ingrained in society
in pop culture,
that like I was probably watching the Oscars or something and they did like a montage and I've seen parts of it. Or I remember when it was because it was a miniseries. Yes. I remember that.
It was a miniseries.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't watch at our house, but I would babysit my neighbors and they would like record it. And I just remember the mom was a nurse. So she would be getting ready for work and the kids were like babies. So they sometimes would be asleep, like when I'd show up and she'd be finishing going out the door and would have it on. And I just remember that. And she would record it from like whatever the series was.
Yeah.
And obviously like just being a human living in America, I know what it's about.
Right.
Like I know the characters and stuff, but I've never like watched it.
I am like your sibling who is deathly afraid of clowns still to this day. In fact, my kids have only been to the circus one time ever. And it was because I got peer pressured into it when we were living in, hold on, let me do military family math in my head. Okay, we were living in Missouri the first time. And we had a nice core group of friends that lived in this little cul-de-sac. And we all had kids the same age. And they're like, come on, we're all going to go see, what's the dang circus?
Like Ringling Brothers,
Yeah,
Barnum and Bailey's.
So they were coming. Yes, they were coming to whatever town was close by, and they're like, "We're going to take the kids. Just come on. We'll sit really up high, because they do it in like a stadium, right?" And they're like, "We'll sit really up high, so you're far away." I was like, "Fine, okay." So we go.
Oh no!
You know this shit's about to take a turn. So we're sitting up high. We have nosebleed seats, and it doesn't matter because it's cool. Like, and before the show starts, they have like people doing tricks. They're warming up. They're going along the crowd. And my friend Shauna looks down and she starts laughing, and she's like, "So there's clowns going through the audience." And I was like, "I'm so glad we're not sitting down there." And all of a fucking sudden,
They were there. in the aisles.
They come down from behind you.
Oh,
my
that's
God.
worse. That's worse.
And my body literally was like, and like, of course, they're all laughing at me, but guys, like, I literally have a fear on the inside of my body. Like, I was sweating, and I was like, I have to go. So I like go out the other way of the row.
Oh, that's
My
really
kids
scary.
don't know, and actually, I don't know if Cooper was born yet. I can't remember if this was pre-Cooper or not. And I was like, and Troy was like, like my friends are laughing. I was like, whatever, peace out, you fools. Like, I don't play with clowns. And then
Oh my
like
God.
John Wayne Gacy and stuff. Like,
I
come on,
know.
like
I
there's real
know.
evil clowns in the world. They're creepy and gross and scary. Sorry.
They are.
Now I'm like panicked because we're gonna have to talk about it a lot because Hunt loves that book. So,
So
Coming
like
soon, the episode on clowns.
I know.
between the cockroach in real life,
I know.
palmetto bug, excuse me, because it flew,
Oh, God.
and then revisiting this clown situation, and then the works of Stephen King, you're gonna need to like, are you gonna sleep tonight?
I don't know. I told y'all like I needed to have an Irish coffee instead of this coffee.
A coffee,
made in my-
yeah.
No,
exactly.
I'll be all
It's
right.
okay. We're bartending tonight.
We're
I'll make you a
bartending
drink.
tonight.
That's true. You'll be okay.
It'll be fine.
You'll be all right.
All right. So we know that was one of your favorite Stephen King. What's another one?
See, this is where I'm kind of torn because like
Okay.
my second favorite one is either Pet Cemetery
Mhm.
or The Shining.
Oh, okay.
I really did like The Shining. I thought it was just very. It was again one of the first ones that I saw, and it was different than like other horror films that I'd seen at the time, and it was more like psychological. Like you're watching this man descend into madness. I'm gonna go with Shining.
Okay.
Shining.
Well, I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead because we have a trivia game to play with Hunt later.
Yay.
And I had some fun facts. So, interesting thing about a lot of Stephen King books is that he bases a lot of his stuff on real life places or
Mhm.
events in his own life.
Mm.
So he actually, the hotel, the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, is based on a real hotel in Colorado that he stayed at. That is haunted, and he was battling alcoholism. He was like in the throes of alcoholism at the time he was staying there. So a lot of what he included, and a lot of his horror has deeper meaning behind
Mhm.
just like you said, his descent into madness was supposed to be like kind of a metaphor for his alcoholism
Mhm.
and the stuff that was going on the inside.
Hmm.
And it's very, I think that's probably why my mom really liked him, is because it was such a creative use of your trauma or
Mm.
your horrible shit in your life to kind of turn it into this story.
Mhm.
You know. So anyway, that was my little piece of trivia with The Shining.
So that was the Stanley Hotel.
The Stanley Hotel. Yeah.
And it was actually an interesting point in his life because Carrie had become very popular at this
Mhm.
point. His mother passes away. And like, so he's dealing with like his success, but then also the loss of his mother. And you gotta remember, his mother was a big part of his life because it was his brother and his mom. Because after his dad left,
Right.
so like
Mhm.
the loss of his mom, like he descended into this alcoholism. Left Maine, went out to Colorado. I think it was Boulder or something like that. Goes out to Colorado, stays at this haunted hotel, struggling aggressively
Mhm.
with alcoholism but still continuing to write.
Right. Yeah.
Like it did
Wow.
like The Shining came out I think a couple of years after he returned back to Maine, but like throughout this time he was writing other
Yeah.
things. I think at the time he had just finished Salem's Lot,
Yeah.
which I think there's like a new version of that coming out
Yeah.
soon.
I just saw that on Insta. I saw
Yeah.
him in like he had a little figurine of the lead vampire guy.
Mhm.
And he was standing in the house where they were filming, and it's like really funny. Anyway, sorry, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Forget
But
I
that's
said that.
the thing is like, you know, for something that's like so popular in like the late 70s, early 80s, and like through the 90s,
Mhm.
it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Like they're still coming out with the remakes of these. Like Pet Sematary has been done like 3 times.
How do you feel about that, though?
I do feel there's no original ideas left. Period.
See, we say that a lot.
There are no original ideas left unless you're Stephen King. And then he's gonna come out with some weird thing about vampires and witches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that as we make these modern adaptations, obviously we have new advances in technology, we have new ways of making films,
Mhm.
telling stories. But at times I feel like sometimes they lose the story.
It does. Yeah.
I will say, like, again, it's one of my favorites. The miniseries was fantastic because they took what was a very thick book and was able to break it up into something, because it's, once you actually watch the whole miniseries, it's long.
Wait, which miniseries are we talking about? It's not.
How long is it?
How long is the new one? Because the first.
Oh, so the new one's only 2 movies. The original miniseries was longer.
No, it's 2. I looked it up. Now they were long.
They were long.
They were like an hour and a half each.
Yeah.
Oh, that is long.
But there was 2. It was on 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so the new one.
It's 2 movies, but they kind of lose a little bit of the detail in it.
Because I have not watched any of the new stuff because I am like, no, it does. I wish they wouldn't have done it, because I feel like the new effects and the stuff kind of ruins it. Like, I feel like just let it be. It's just like if they remade like Rocky Horror, I would not like that. Like, just let it be Rocky Horror. Like, just let Pet Sematary be Pet Sematary. I was just curious as a fan what you thought. So you're kind of on like both sides.
I think it depends, because like there have been some where like, actually no, it's not. There are some remakes, non-Stephen King ones, that I have liked, but then there have been ones where I'm just like, no, the originals like, was the quality better? No.
Well,
like, these are like 80s films, but I think the story was told better.
Agreed.
Than what we're getting with certain remakes today. And I'm not saying that it was a bad movie. Like, I thought it was very well done.
So you liked it? Okay.
It was good.
Okay.
I just think that it didn't tell the whole story that the original miniseries had. And obviously it's also one of those books like you have to edit a lot out.
Yeah, there's a really bad controversial scene that they did not put in the new one. They changed it in the new one. I read. Now, I mean, I don't know,
but it's in the old one.
Yeah,
in the old movie. I mean, miniseries.
And I mean, we'll just tell you not to have a spoiler alert.
I mean, because like at this point, hello, if you haven't watched it,
right?
Sorry.
So everybody just know.
Spoiler.
I mean, sorry, the story's like super old, but anyway. So they're in the group of kids that we're talking about. They they grow up together. They go through this trauma with this clown, then they all come back. Okay, they all come back, and then they have to like fight him and like stuff. I mean, there's a lot more there. This is just bare bones. Fill in where I miss, Hunt. There's only one girl in the group. So they go down to the sewer because this is where Pennywise lives. That's the name of the clown. And the culminating scene is the whole like statement is there's like this gap between like being a kid and being an adult and blah, blah, blah. But she ends up like having sex with all of them to like the purpose was.
So like it feeds on like their fears.
Yes.
And in order for them to like face their fears and come together as a group, they like bond their friendship. And
yeah, that's how they
bond their friendship. And I'm like,
seriously.
No.
And they're like 13. They're like 13.
Yeah, these are 12 and 13-year-olds. And I'm like,
correct.
This is.
And so that was in the original book. Okay. Yeah. Now, I don't remember how that translated into the miniseries. I don't know because it was on TV and I don't know.
So the miniseries did cut it out.
Okay, they did.
And then the new version, they end up doing like.
She like holds their face or something. And like I read about it.
They do the thing where they like cut their hand to like the Blood Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was just about to say that. Isn't that? I mean, I know Stephen King's trying to not be cliche, but like, couldn't you?
Well,
Stephen King was on quite a few things when he wrote that one.
And he also has made statements about it saying like, I mean, he hasn't really been like regretful, but he was kind of like, well, times are different now. He has said like the reason he wrote it the way he did was to show like this progression from being a kid to being, but I'm like, they're like 13. Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the
and only
like,
one girl.
He was trying to kind of like put that like these kids had to like grow up fast and like really mature because they dealt with this like
they had like lots of trauma
trauma
stuff like in their lives. Yeah, lots of But I
was like, that's one way to do it.
So like we can talk about nostalgic or problematic with that mess because I was like, that's going to have to come up because you can't talk about it without that being there because it has been such a controversial point, even when it was originally written.
Yeah,
sure.
So, yeah,
yikes.
I mean, again, it's one of those ones where like film adaptations of books, like they cut things out. Sometimes it's good that you cut things out because no one wants to see that.
Yeah,
nobody wants to read about it.
Yeah,
Nobody wants
like
to
reading
see
about it. It was like, oh, It's a choice.
Let alone trying to like actually watch it. Yeah.
But
it would get people talking.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
there's a
that it
lot of
did.
other things in the book that I guess get
I mean,
people
there's other
talking.
ways to do that.
there's so much in that book
Yeah, there's so much.
that I'm just like,
Could have left it out.
Are there
Mr. King.
cockroaches in that book?
No. Well, I mean, there's the sewer, so probably. But I don't remember anything crazy happening with cockroaches, but clowns.
no.
And the scariest part in that miniseries, because Tim Curry plays a clown. Okay.
Oh, he did such a good job with that
Tim
clown.
Curry again.
I know, he's all over our podcast right now.
Curry.
I know. We
Again.
Oh God. Anyway, there's a scene, and you'll know what I'm talking about, where he opens his mouth and it just keeps opening and opening. I have had nightmares about that.
That is like a lot of people who fear clowns, like that right there
Yes.
is what creates that fear.
Correct.
It's this clown coming up through the shower drain.
Yes. Shower fucking drain. You can't even get clean without them bothering
Oh yeah.
you.
Spoiler alert. There's this scene where
Oh, it's so bad.
one of the kids is in the shower, he's washing up, and they'd already experienced the clown at this point, and he hears a voice coming from the drain. He like gets close and he's like listening to it, and it's Pennywise, and then he like materializes through the drain.
Oh.
And he's like standing there in the shower with the kid, and it was
in the shower.
yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
See, that is like a deepest, darkest fear, though, and I think that's what he's good at hitting on.
Yeah.
Like I don't sit here and go, "Oh, I'm scared." Like my deepest, darkest fear is a clown showing up in my shower.
Why not?
But then when you see it, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's like the most terrifying thing that could ever possibly
New
happen."
fear unlocked.
Right, yeah.
It's like, thank you for introducing that. Like you said,
I know.
like the mouth that won't close. Like you're like, I didn't know I needed to be afraid of that, but now
God.
I am.
I can't stop seeing it. So now it's in my head forever.
But the thing is, it was stuff like that, like with the Tim Curry version, where it was like, it kind of got lost in the new version.
Oh, it
Mhm.
did.
I don't know if it was just like
Same.
the difference between actors or
true.
just like the direction that they took the new movie, because it definitely was like it was their own interpretation of the movie. Like, it wasn't a remake. It was they went back to the source material and made that.
Okay.
But I just am such a fan of Tim Curry too. So
I know.
You're like,
we're
no
going
one
to
else.
fangirl about Tim Curry later. Okay.
Yes.
So that's your favorites. So what are some of your least favorite of his? Either book or movie, either one.
least favorite. So Children of the Corn is good, but again, it's a short story.
Yeah.
So if you've ever actually read the short story, what they do with the movie is a lot of like artistic freedoms, and it makes a really good movie. But then if you actually read the original short story, you're like, where'd you get that from?
Oh, really?
There's
See,
just,
I've never read this. I haven't read the short story. I've seen the movie.
there's just a couple of things, because again, it's a short story. It's like you can't make a whole thing out
Yeah.
of it. But I think the short story sets up the premise of it, and then you kind of let the writers and director kind of go from there. And it's a really good
So like
movie.
the short story just inspired the movie then.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell Katie what Children of the Corn is about.
Oh, God.
How do you encapsulate?
Anything horror with kids is creepy.
Mhm.
Creepy.
I don't want to, actually.
You don't want to tell her?
No, because so it's one of my least favorites because it's actually one of the ones that kind of creeps me out the
It is.
most.
Kids are creepy. So they have to kill. I don't remember. They call it the
The reaping or
the
something.
reaping.
Yeah.
And they have to kill all the adults in their community so they'll have a good harvest, basically.
Okay.
I mean, I'm leaving out a lot. But it's
but
like
they're
creepy ass possessed kids.
They're
Like,
not kids like living in the corn. They're like kids living in the community.
Yeah.
right, yeah. But
Okay.
they're children of the corn because they get, I don't know if they're like possessed. I can't remember like what I did not research enough. I was like, I don't want to tell her. Like
I was
it's
like,
his
no.
least favorite. He's like, I hate it. So I'm like not even
I
giving
mean,
it
it
airtime.
sounds like there's a short story. I could
It's
read out
one of the
there.
ones that like actually like it creeped me out.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the few that like kind of gives me the willies. I'm like, it's weird.
He's like scared now.
I don't actually I don't live anywhere near a cornfield, but
Well, I have, and you have.
Oh, I grew up in Indiana.
Yeah. So like
and they
he's
say
like-
there's more than corn in Indiana, but that's not true. You guys, I'm here to tell you. Yeah.
God.
There was a theme park when I was growing up called Indiana Beach, and their theme song was Indiana Beach, first of all, which, first of all, I did grow up on Lake Michigan. There are beaches, but that was the name of it. And their song was There's More Than Corn in Indiana at Indiana Beach. I swear.
Stop.
Indiana friends, back me up. Anyway,
See, so I used to travel a lot for work, and it wasn't until I started traveling for work that this fear kind of like materialized.
Children?
N- Just in general.
Oh.
Of this, not just children. Children are great. I don't like kids. I don't have kids.
I don't either. I like my kids and I like Katie's kids and a few others. That's
Your
about
kids
it.
are great.
Yeah.
Other kids are. Why are they always sticky? I don't understand that.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I have that question as well.
I think every parent has that where there's like they gotta like touch their child. Like, why are you? Anyway,
How?
So I used to travel a lot for work, and my job took me to a lot of like very remote places, especially in like the middle of nowhere. And so the story starts with this couple. They're moving somewhere for a new job or something, and their trip comes like a sudden halt because they find this like dead body in the road.
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so they come across this like dead body in the road, and they're like, "The hell is going on here?" And then they discover this like town that's led by this like radical preacher.
Is his name Malachi or is that the kid?
I think that's the kid.
Okay.
And like then the kids are like trying to sacrifice them, like this couple, to like a deity. And as someone who's been through these like tiny little towns in the Midwest, I'm just like, I'm the outsider. I'm the sacrifice victim.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. Correct. You had been killed. And I mean, I've lived in these rural places in the Midwest. And listen, there's some backwoods crazy thinking, especially with religion. So I'm just saying.
Well, and the thing too was like, I was in Texas, middle of nowhere, like literally, like the town had 300 people. I think I met all of them one night at dinner.
Every single
There's
one.
one restaurant in town.
I think I lived there.
You met Danny.
Yeah, that's me. Surprise.
And that night I was staying in the hotel room, of course, dinky little motel on the side of the road nowhere.
Oh, scary. Already scary.
Already scary. It got to the like when we booked travel there, like there were no hotels that came up on our travel system.
Oh my God.
And my coworker was like, "Oh yeah, just call this one." I was like,
Call them?
"Call?"
What is this, 1985? Hello?
And I was like, how does that even work? Like that's like
Like, I'm a millennial.
No,
Excuse me.
not the calling part. Like, how do I pay them? Because like our corporate travel system is very rigid.
Oh,
like,
sure.
What? Like I had to get like VP level approval to find this little rinky dinky hotel.
Oh my God, really?
Weird. It's wild.
Wow.
They have like their negotiated rates. It's corporate life. Anyways,
I don't know what that's about.
Danny's like, huh?
Anyways, so I'm in this hotel. We went to dinner, met the entire town. I'm sitting in the hotel, and I was like scrolling through like the 5 channels they get, and I was like, "Ooh, Children of the Corn is on."
Stop it.
And I was like, "This one." Halfway through the movie, I'm like, "I'm gonna die."
I'm like, why are they playing this right now? Are they trying to foreshadow my death?
And it was just like that's like when that like fear unlocked, and it was like it's like when like play video games like achievement unlocked.
Oh yeah,
I was like fear unlocked, and I was like,
correct.
Great.
Now you are scared of kids and corn in the Midwest.
It wasn't like there wasn't a corn there like in this town.
Oh, I'm
like
sure there
the entire
probably
town was like a ranching town. The only thing that grew there were like wind turbines.
Those don't grow, Hunt.
I know there was like a lot of them in like this giant field, and I was like, the only thing that actually comes above the ground because everything else is rattlesnakes.
That sounds scary. Wind turbines are scary, though.
I was about to say the same thing.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, they freak me out.
Yeah, they're scary.
Because they're so slow and huge and monotonous. Like, there's this strip in Indiana when you're driving from like Lafayette, like Purdue area up towards Chicago. And I kid you not, it is like 20 miles on both sides of these giant wind turbines. And I'm just like, how fast can we get off this strip of road? They're all going to come alive and smash my car with their big old feet.
For real.
Like, they
that.
look like giant robots.
Oh, you see, I'm a fan of the Windy Boys. That's renewable energy right there. That's, that's hot.
That part,
that's
yes.
hot. That's an engineer.
But I don't want to be by it. I want to not see it.
I'm okay with a picture.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Picture's okay.
It's okay. We live in Florida.
I know everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's non-renewable energy.
Right,
well,
correct.
we have solar.
No, bugs.
You're right. We have solar. We do have a lot of solar.
And
You're right.
Bugs, so we're good.
Yeah,
bugs that have been around since the dinosaurs. See, that's another reason why cockroaches scare me is because they literally have survived evolution for a really long time and they're never dying. Like
they have evolved to the perfect form to survive.
That should scare all of you. You should be terrified of them.
Because we haven't done that.
Correct.
We
We'll still die.
We haven't evolved to our perfect form yet.
No, you're still born with wisdom
I
teeth and
mean-
appendixes.
I mean,
okay?
we have, the three people in this room have, but like humans in general.
Actually, I am very evolved in my dental because I was born with no wisdom teeth. Right? Be amazed. And don't say anything smart ass, Katie. I see it coming. She's like, oh, well, that checks. Okay.
See, now I'm jealous because when I had my wisdom teeth, I had it actually grow into my jawline and
Oh,
actually
no.
dislocated my jaw, and I had to have my
Shut
jaw
up.
wired
That sounds awful.
to set up.
Awful.
When they,
But see, also, you're extremely intelligent with numbers, and I am not. So let that sit in.
It's the teeth.
It's the teeth.
Even if you had them taken out.
We just solved the
breaking my own
mystery.
jaw, though, it's
There we
fine.
go.
Solved the mystery there.
I've got all mine.
No, because they those teeth attack you.
They do.
Mhm.
I was like, it was so bizarre when I found that out. Like, y'all would have thought I was an alien at the dentist when I was like 11 or something. Cause like, that's when they can start
Mhm.
seeing them. And they were like doing the x-ray. And of course I have like horrible, like crooked teeth, like orthodontics, like loved me. And they were like, oh, did you already get your wisdom teeth removed? And I was like, no. And they're like, and they just like sat there and they're like, you don't have any. And I'm like, is that bad? I don't know what that means. They're like, actually, you're really lucky. And I'm
It
like,
just means that you're more evolved.
okay,
'Cause you've evolved past wisdom teeth.
I guess so.
You're a higher being.
Now, once you
We'll
evolve,
appreciate this.
once you evolve without an appendix, then
I know.
Yeah. Come back and talk to us
Yeah,
then.
at that point. All right. So, do we want to go ahead and jump into some trivia? Because I am
think
really excited.
So,
No.
do you have any others that you don't like, or is Children of the Corn like?
yeah.
Children of the Corn, I think, is
main?
again, because I
It
used to
was
be such a big fan of all of them. And then this one experience, I was like,
No more.
No.
But
Yeah,
that makes
that's
sense.
fair. He didn't even want to tell me the plot.
I know.
He was like, no.
He was like
Still
getting.
gives me the
I know.
willies.
Look at it. Like he is just shivering,
visibly uncomfortable. Okay, let's
I
go.
would
Let's go to
rather
trivia.
end up with a car that fell in love with me than
and killed people.
and kill people. That's
Wow.
fine.
Right.
All right. So here is how this game goes. Now, Katie has not looked at this either, but I'm not going to make you play because
I'll just follow along. Please don't make me play.
I'm going to have her read a little bit. So this is for Hunt, and then he may have some more stuff to share too at the end. But here's the trivia. So back in the 80s and 90s, we loved us a tagline. Okay. There were taglines on movie posters, there were taglines on VHS covers, there were taglines on like movie adverts. Remember when they would have movie adverts in the newspaper,
Mhm.
Katie?
Yes.
And like you would look in the newspaper for movie show timings
Yep.
and like they'd have, okay. So I found taglines for 10 Stephen King movie adaptations or miniseries that came out in the 80s and 90s. Some of these were the end of the 70s, but I still feel like they're like
It's fine.
pretty important to our generation, so I included them. Anyway, so we're going to read the taglines and see if Hunt can guess the movie
Mhm.
/ book that they're from. Then I'm going to read you the IMDb summary. I'm super fancy and official here. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. And then we have a little trivia question for Hunt
See if he gets them
from
right.
that book or the movie.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then I have some fun facts. Some we've already talked about. So, you ready?
Yes, let's do this.
All right, Katie. Do you want to read taglines, or you want me to read taglines, or what do you want to do?
I will read the taglines.
Okay. So, do you see them in the
I
quotes?
see it.
Do you
yes.
understand my notes?
I see number 1. That
Right.
where I start.
Yes. Yes. Here
Are
we
these
go.
like any particular order? Like, are these like the most
Yeah,
popular?
they are in order of the year they came out.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're starting way
So
back.
we're
So in
starting
the late 70s.
late 70s. Okay.
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 Here we go.
Damn, I was hoping he wasn't going to ask that.
So there's
So it's Carrie.
two. So there's 2 taglines. I read them both.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here we go.
Here's the first one.
Very anticlimactic.
I know it is.
If only they knew she had the power. And also, if you've got a taste for terror, take her to the prom.
Oh, that's definitely Carrie.
See, I know.
Yeah,
you said
that's
late
it.
70s. I was like, it's Carrie. It's always Carrie.
No, it's always Carrie. So, like Hunt mentioned already, the book came out in 1974. Movie came out in 1976. So, like,
Dang.
that's- yeah.
Snap,
And the
snap.
thing, I think it's important to talk about how, like, not inspirational, but like impactful Carrie has been. Like,
for sure.
Carrie was his first book. It was
First
his
book.
first movie. It's a freaking musical now.
I
which If
know.
you haven't seen Carrie the musical,
Haven't.
get your high schoolers to do it.
Have you seen it?
I've never seen it.
You need to do it next October.
Oh
could do
my
it.
god,
Yeah,
it
we could
is.
do it.
And the thing is, like, it's one of the. It's. I'm a theater person. I do starting to love theater. I discovered theater late in life.
I love that. So did my husband.
And I like, especially like I like the darker ones, like Sweeney Todd, Addams
Mhm.
Family,
Yeah.
like the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Meat pies and murder.
Yes.
Carrie is one of those ones that like it's like also like the Heathers too, like those
Oh,
like
yeah.
Mhm.
teen issue ones
Yeah.
that like a lot of theaters around here don't want to do.
Isn't that funny?
Because like they're considered so controversial still to this day.
Still, yeah.
I know.
Like I've asked the director at the Hennigar, I'm like, when are we doing Carrie the musical for like our summer program? And he's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was like,
Never. The
I was
answer
like,
is
when
never.
are we doing Heathers? He goes, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, they're heavy shows, but they're so good.
And the kids would
Mhm.
love it.
The kids,
kids love
would
that
love
stuff.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Spring Awakening. Did
Oh,
you see
yeah.
that one?
Oh, my
yeah.
God.
We
Yeah,
only
it was
saw that one. It
amazing.
was
That is a
great.
deep show.
But you know what? I couldn't watch that again. I mean, I saw that live once, and
Mhm.
I'm like, made me so emotional. I
Mhm.
don't think I could rewatch
I'm the
it.
same.
It's such a deep show.
Yeah.
But like the kids love to
Oh,
portray
yeah.
those stories
Oh, and
because
they're so talented.
they're,
Yeah.
they're stories that like they're living through.
Correct.
And it's very
Correct.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this on our last episode with Jamila too, how, you know, kids don't want to be patronized with their content.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They want to be given the more adult, dark, heavy stuff because they're thinking about it
Yeah.
anyway. And
I mean, these kids probably aren't thinking about like telekinetic girls.
No,
out of Pittsburgh,
maybe.
but
I mean,
I hope
like
that's not a problem in schools today. But
maybe the really
I
evolved
wish.
ones without wisdom teeth.
without the wisdom
See?
teeth, yeah.
Those are the
Listen,
ones.
I can't lie and say I didn't want to have telekinetic powers to mess some people up in my high school because
See, there you go.
some people were jerks. Okay, so here's the official summary. I got the summary of the movie. Okay, so
Okay.
book fans out there,
That's fine.
don't come at me. I know there's a difference. We don't have to get into that, anyways. So here it is. Carrie White, a shy, friendless teenage girl who is sheltered by her domineering religious mother, unleashes her telekinetic powers after being humiliated by her classmates at her senior prom.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, you ready for your trivia question?
Yes.
What color was Carrie's prom dress?
Ooh.
There's an important scene with her mom too where they talk about it.
I know, and I don't remember. I'm partially colorblind. You have to remember that.
Way to go, Dan.
She does say it. She says the word.
She says it out loud. Yeah.
You can
Just
just
guess.
It's fine. We'll give you a few seconds.
I want to say it was like a lighter, it was like a white color almost.
It is a lighter color. We'll give you another. Since you're colorblind, we'll give you another guess. Katie, do you need to sing the corn song?
There's more than corn in Indiana.
Was it like blue or something?
It was pink.
It was pink.
And here's why that's important. Because her mother, like,
That's right. That scene
super-
with her mom. With the,
yeah, and she says, "Why are you wearing a red dress? Because you know a harlot or whatever." And she's like, "It's not red, it's pink." And she's
Mhm.
like, "It's the horse color." But this is horrible.
because it's like even her mom
Sounds
on her
like a
case.
reenactment.
She
over
doesn't really
there.
talk like an old country
Yeah.
lady.
But like that's
Here's
the
a
thing is like
horse color.
that's the thing is like even her mom was like judgmental of her. Like,
Yeah.
like the
Aw.
kids at school were judgmental of her. Like she had
It
like
was-
a really rough.
It was that movie is actually like sad to me to watch, even though it's a horror movie, is because she is punished for having these powers,
Mhm.
and her mom she tells her that she's evil and terrible.
Yeah.
Like she gets her period and doesn't know, and she's freaking out in the shower at school. Like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's
The
good.
musical's a little lighter though, if you want to do it.
Is
They're
it
like, but don't be
campy?
scared away.
It's definitely more campy.
You know, I
Okay.
love some campy.
We love a campy.
We love
It
a
still has
campy.
those like dark elements to it, and like those
Mhm.
heavy moments, but like it's lighter. It's staged.
Is there pig's blood?
Of course.
Okay, yes.
How
Though
could
a
there
lot
not
of
be?
theaters do it with like confetti or something, just because
Lame. No,
like doing actual blood on stage is just a mess.
I don't care. You need the blood.
Yeah,
I'll
gotta
come
do
up
it.
for
Gotta
you.
do it.
That's the intermission scene. It's just
Oh, got it.
it's just Danny on stage mopping up
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah, it's like stick
Being a
around
janitor
for
out.
for the intermission entertainment.
I would work
It's
for free.
Danny.
I would work for free to do that. Just on stage in a janitor's outfit mopping blood.
Watching this and it's so fun. Okay.
I need to get you a little
I don't know
outfit.
what's going on this
Okay.
morning. This is just funny. Okay, so we already talked about that was his first published novel. Also, Sissy Spacek played Carrie, and she was
Mm.
nominated for Best Actress,
Awesome.
which I have to say is a big deal because the horror genre in general is not recognized a lot by the Academy,
Mm-hmm.
as are many other things like women and people of color. But whatever, Academy, if you want to give us an award, we'll take it for
Yeah.
never
for
being
whatever.
in a movie.
For the award for never being in a movie. That's true. Danny Combs and Katie Parsons.
I mean, I think Danny has enough awards. She's already won quite a few last year.
Stop.
No, that's
shush.
true. That's true.
Can't
She's on the rise. She's on the rise. Oh man.
hold me back. Can't hold me back.
Oh.
All
When
right.
they try to, it's back row.
They
Sorry.
talk to she's not you
She's
can't
not a back row girl anymore.
don't put baby in the back row anymore. Okay.
They may want to put me back.
No, you're stepping forward.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
Word.
your spot needs you to fill again. All right.
You're
Anyway,
doing this
moving
one
on.
right.
Are y'all ready?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Would you
Number
like
2.
to read the next one?
Yeah, I would. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Let's see. So we're moving into the 80s now, right?
Well, you have to wait and see, Hunt.
We'll
Stop jumping
find out.
ahead.
We'll find out. So there's 2 taglines, so don't guess till I've read them both. This is my spot. We're gonna be okay, guys. Here we go. Ready? Stanley Kubrick's epic nightmare of horror. And this boy feels things no child should feel, sees things no human should being.
Rewind.
Okay. This boy feels things no child should feel, sees things no human being should see. He has the power, and there is no escape.
I love that your like princess voice. Just you're trying so hard to sound scary, and you just can't do it. You just can't do
I
it.
know.
It's so
I'm
good.
trying, you guys.
Stanley Kubrick
Stanley
as the
Kubrick.
bloopers.
Yeah, they're like
So
my
we're
squirrel friends are
Okay, so-
gathering.
The
Okay.
Shining?
Yeah, it is The Shining.
Yes.
Okay, so book was 77, movie 1980.
Okay.
Year I was born. So ha ha ha, great things. All right. So for those of you that don't know, here's the summary. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence. At the same time, his psychic son sees horrifying forebodings from both the past and the future. So we already talked about some of the trivia, but here we go. Oh, and shit, Hannah already answered this question. Because I said, what real life hotel was the inspiration? You already told us.
The Stanley Hotel.
Stanley Hotel. It is
Nice.
in Estes Park, Colorado.
Okay.
So yeah, and we already talked about that. The setting, the characters in this book were influenced by
By
his real life
alcoholism.
visit, his alcoholism. So we're just gonna
Let's keep
move
going.
right along.
All right,
Look at
here we
us.
go.
Hunt
Well,
is-
we got 10, so we got
Hunt
to
is
keep it
in.
rolling. Okay.
All right. I can't wait to hear you read this one. Go.
Here we go. If you get on her bad side, you're toast. Will she have the power to survive?
Nice. Nice.
That's
Will she have the power to?
You better not be Googling, Hunt.
I'm not.
He's over there on his phone, like scrolling.
I'm looking at my notes. I took extensive notes.
I love.
love
Oh, I don't know that one actually.
Ooh, did we stump you?
Again, these are taglines though,
Okay.
so it's like wild.
I know.
Can you read it again?
Yeah.
yes. If you get on her bad side, you're toast. Will she have the power to survive?
It's not Christine, is it?
No.
Oh.
We'll give you another shot. I'll tell you, the book came out in 79. The movie came out in 84. And a famous child actor at the time played the lead.
Mm-mm.
84.
Uh-huh.
That's not Children of the Corn.
No.
Yeah, well,
All right, you got 2 guesses. We got to tell you now.
okay, what
It's
is it?
Firestarter.
Firestarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the summary of this one is a couple who participated in a potent medical experiment gain telepathic ability and then have a child who is pyrokinetic.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what that means?
That they can just make fire happen with their brain?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so here's the trivia question. I already said some of it. Who was the lead child actress for this movie and how old was she when they filmed?
Oh, now you're getting me.
Millennials would know this, I think, but millennials might not.
Wait, what was that? Is it 84? Was that Drew Barrymore?
Yes.
Yes.
It was Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. So how old do you think she was?
Oh God, she was. I don't know.
She was 8.
She was 8. I was
When
gonna say 10.
Yeah, 8 when it was filmed, 9 when it released. And
Okay.
unfortunately,
Wasn't
and
this like one of her like first?
yeah. Well, E.T. was her first.
E.T. was her
So
first.
this was after E.T. And then unfortunately, she's talked about this a lot because at the wrap party for this movie was the first time she had alcohol. She's 9 years old.
What?
She was like talking to some of the crew members and she said, I bet I can down both of those glasses of champagne. And they were like, all right, go ahead, kid. She did. And she said that was kind of the start of her kind of fall into addiction.
Yikes.
Because she was already an addict by like 10 or 11, 12, something around there.
Oh,
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah. So I feel like that was a very important landmark movie for her for
For a lot of reasons.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Heather Locklear was in that movie.
Really?
She was the mom, I think, if I remember correctly.
So
Yeah.
it's actually funny that you used Firestarter because I think Firestarter was one of the ones that Stephen King like wasn't involved in.
Yeah, I don't remember because there was a few. I know one's coming up in a bit. There were a few that he wasn't involved in. He actually was not involved in the miniseries of It, the original one.
Yes, he wasn't involved in the original one, but I think he was involved in the remake.
That I don't know, but he said he wasn't involved in it. He gave them their blessing. He
Yeah.
was like, yeah, go ahead. And then he said after he watched it, he was like, okay, I liked it. Like,
Yeah.
but he didn't help with it.
Good
Yeah.
for him.
So and like I think Firestarter was one of the other early ones where like it's based on his novel from I think the book came out in the 80s.
The book came out
Night
in
79.
79, so almost.
But like he wasn't involved in that one.
Yeah. I don't remember this one. Like I remember watching, like we had VCR tapes and like we had HBO. So like, I don't know if anybody else's parents did this, but they would like VCR tape from HBO, like the movies. And then we'd write on the outside, like,
Oh,
all
yeah.
these movies.
Yeah.
So I know that was one we had on a VCR tape. But I don't remember a lot about it. I remember Drew Barrymore. I remember Fire. I don't remember a lot.
A lot of his earlier works like have a very common theme, which is like kids with like superpowers.
Yeah, which is kind of
You're right.
interesting.
I like
And
that.
just, like because like especially in like the 80s and 90s, like superheroes were a big thing,
Yeah.
but like
Mhm.
they're almost like they're not even like villains, they're just creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they
they
just have
can't-
these weird abilities.
And
Yeah,
some of-
like-
and it was stuff they couldn't control.
Yeah.
And that was the scary part.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't control it. And grown-ups were trying to control them because they couldn't control. Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Okay. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
Here we go.
I have a lot to say about
Okay.
this next one.
I think you're going to get this one. I think I would get this one just not even knowing much about it. But here we go. From the taglines. There's two of them. His bite is worse than his bark. Much, much worse. And unleash the terror.
Okay. Your horror voice is getting better.
Is that Silver Bullet?
I cannot believe you didn't get this.
One more guess.
Read that first one again.
His bite is worse than his bark. Much, much worse.
Is it Cujo?
Yeah. I was like, I know he's gonna get it if he does it again. Yes, Cujo came out. The book was 81. The movie was 83. So again, not too much time in
Pretty
between.
quick.
For those that don't know, here's the summary. It's so short. Cujo, a friendly Saint Bernard, contracts rabies and conducts a reign of terror on a small American town. Done.
But the thing is, like some of the concepts are just so simple, but they work.
Oh my God. Again, on another fear of mine, or actually not fear, dislike. I don't like dogs, and Cujo probably has a lot to
This is a reason why. I mean, it feels real that like
Yeah,
an
and it was
animal,
scary.
because we can't control animals anyway, let
Yeah.
alone if they have some sort of disease.
Oh yeah.
The whole scary scene of that movie that I remember so much was where she's trying to escape and her kid is having an asthma attack. Like they have severe asthma.
Mhm.
She's trying to save her kid. They get in the car and they're stuck in the fucking car and the dog is like freaking out all over. That scene scared me to death. Yes.
Oh my God.
Anyway, and also I don't like dogs. So
There you go.
I have a fun trivia question.
Okay.
This one's just, and since you're
Kinda
a theater
cute.
person and you do like backstage stuff, you might be able to guess this. Okay, ready? Oh, whoops, I went the wrong way with my arrows. Sorry. So here it is. What did they use to create the foam around Cujo's mouth during filming?
Oh, I used to know this too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed this. Actually, as a
either.
bartender, you might be able to guess one of the things.
Wasn't it like something? It was something whipped.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a cream or something, was it?
not whipped cream.
No, it was like it was like fluff or something.
No, gosh, you're so close. It was egg whites.
Egg
and
whites?
sugar.
It was a meringue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, pretty
You're
much.
right, you're
They
right.
used a meringue to
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think I remember reading somewhere that like they put it on him that I kept licking it off.
Yeah,
and
probably
reapplying
tasted
it throughout the
delicious,
entire-
yeah.
Actually,
Like, and he
some
was-
really funny like facts about the dogs used
Yeah.
in this movie because obviously they use more than one.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that one I thought was funny. And then the other thing I read was it said the dogs they would often have to have their tails like gently tied down to their legs because they were having so much fun during filming.
Yeah.
They kept
They kept
wagging their
wagging their
tail
tail.
and they weren't looking scary. Like,
And the thing is, like, they have it's like herd of Saint Bernards, by the way, on set.
God, Katie's
they're-
so excited.
These are all like highly trained, like
That
actor
sounds
dogs, which is a thing.
amazing.
I would have loved to have been on set.
Me
I love
too.
dogs.
And
But I
big
also
dogs,
I get the fear because like my
Mhm.
dog is very dumb, and like there are times when like I talk to him and like he's just oblivious. Like I'll tell him to sit, and he's just sitting there wagging his tail, and I'm like, no, down. So like I get like not being able to control them. Like even the good ones, like
Oh, yeah.
hard to control.
Animals.
Yeah.
You know.
And we'll say if he ever gets rabies, I'm fucked because like he's dumb.
dumb plus rabies equals
Yeah.
fucked. Yes.
Yeah, no, we're
Not
That's
great.
probably
Not
the
great.
best quote of today. If he ever gets rabies, I'm fucked. Soundbite.
Soundbite snippet at the beginning.
especially also because like I love my dog, but like if he had rabies, like I probably wouldn't even notice.
Oh, you noticed. You noticed.
My-
I don't know. He's
That's hilarious.
I
We'll talk more
just
about him
can't
later, but-
stop thinking about herd of Saint Bernards,
A
and
herd of
I
Saint
feel like I
Bernards.
have a new bucket list item.
Oh God, keep me far away. I
Yeah,
do
but,
not
like,
like dogs.
there was
at
an
all.
interview with
Yuck.
like some people on set, and like they like the dogs were always so happy.
Yeah.
Every time they put the meringue on them to like
You
make them
eat
look
it.
rabid, they're sitting there like licking their lips.
And they're like, no,
Aw.
stop. Looks scary. You're trying to kill her. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not trying to eat
they're like,
sugar.
hello.
There's a lot of like bloopers from
Really?
because the actors again they all got like
Oh.
acquainted with these dogs.
Well, yeah.
So like the dog's sitting there attacking the window, and the kid's back's like laughing.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh, I'll have to look those up
That
for
is
sure.
the best thing about horror films is bloopers because
Oh, yeah.
especially actors on set, like you know everything is fake. You know the person who's in that clown suit.
Right.
You know like it's and like they break constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there are more bloopers from horror films than I think comedy films.
Interesting.
I want to go home and just Google that.
Yeah,
Google horror film
I'm going to.
bloopers. They're
Bloopers.
hysterical.
that's a great
Um,
idea.
There's some really fantastic ones from Scream. They're hysterical.
Oh, I bet. I swear I saw something funny of like a Freddy Krueger, like it was a still, it wasn't like a blooper, where he's like eating Doritos or something.
Yeah, it's like Freddy
Yeah.
Doritos. Totally fine. Nothing
I
to
don't
see
know.
here.
All right. So have you seen any of these movies we mentioned so far,
No,
Katie?
not so far.
Not so far.
Not so far.
Wow. Okay.
All right, here we go.
And you've probably seen all of them, Hunt?
I've seen all the ones that you've mentioned.
Okay. Have you
Okay.
read any of the books or just the movies?
So I have read Firestarter. I haven't actually read Cujo.
Okay. Me either. Because I don't like dogs. So
There we
And
go.
now it's on my list of
Like-
things to read this
Now you have
winter.
like,
this
I'm
winter.
like, I don't care. I'm
Sit
not
by
reading
your
them.
little fireplace with your
And then be
Cujo.
scared of
When
your
it's 90
dog.
degrees, I guess.
Wear your little Christmas jammies and read Cujo. It'll be fine.
That's it. I'm gonna be cuddled up with my dog reading
say,
Cujo
yeah.
and be like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe get away from me.
It's gonna be like that moment in the hotel in Texas.
Yes.
You're gonna be like, you know what? Sit over there, actually.
I can guarantee there's more details in that book than were in the movie. So
Oh,
I'm just sitting
for
there reading
sure.
it and I'd be like, maybe I don't like you.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe I need a cat.
not.
But also, like, that's such a genius thing, like, though, to take such a simple idea and make it a whole terrifying book.
Mm-hmm.
Like rabies, you know?
Scary.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
I
Okay.
know. Okay, go ahead.
Moving on to
Number
number 5.
We don't have to do all 10 if we don't have time, but
How can you kill something that can't possibly be alive? And once she lures you behind her wheel, you're all hers.
Okay, now we're at Christine.
yeah, now we're at
Yes.
Christine. So this one, the book came out in 82, the movie came out in 83, so even faster.
I wonder, just a little interjection here, if because he was having such notoriety as books were being written, screenplays
Probably.
were being written
Oh,
at the
probably.
same time. Like once he got to that point.
I feel like they are because like that's happening nowadays too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one I just saw? Oh, The Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming out with another prequel,
Mm-hmm.
and like the book isn't even out yet, and they're advertising the movie, and I'm just like,
Wait, they're coming out with another one?
yeah.
Oh, dang.
This
I
one
didn't
covers
know.
like when Haymitch was in the
Oh.
games. Yeah. But like they already have a release date for the movie, and the book doesn't come out until November.
Oh.
And I'm just like, y'all ain't giving me any time to read this.
Watched
Right.
the Snow movie yet. I read the book, but oh my gosh, okay, I got to get my life together. All right, so Christine, we got it. Here's the summary. A nerdish boy, I love that nerdish,
Nerdish.
buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, and his nature starts to change to reflect it. So here's your trivia question, Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I hope you know this. What kind of car was used in the movie?
Oh, it was like a Plymouth Fury or something like that.
Yeah, it was a 1958 Plymouth Fury. I don't know if that matters. I know nothing about cars.
Beautiful car.
So director John Carpenter actually used 16 Plymouth Furies. And it said he also had some additional Plymouths of like different models, but they were all painted red because car was red.
Mm-hmm.
So nice.
Nice job.
Nice job. I have to admit, I have not seen this movie enough to recollect anything about it, except I know it's a possessed car. But my sister-in-law, we were talking, I saw her recently. We had a family wedding, and she is a Gen Xer. She's older than me. And we were talking about Stephen King, and she was like, "Oh my God, like I remember reading Christine." And she was like, terrified of this car in her neighborhood because she was reading Christine, and she said one night she was reading it and she like looked out her window and saw it or something. I'm messing up your story, Melinda. I'm sorry. Please come on our socials and fix it. But it's funny because you think like a car, like how scary is a car? Well, very. Like,
Especially after Christine.
yeah. And if I remember, okay, correct me. Did you read this book or you?
I did.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to remember how the car got possessed. Didn't like on the assembly line somebody died or something?
I think it was something like that, yeah.
And then like the spirit went into the car.
Okay.
I think I don't
Yeah,
know.
so
am I
the weird thing
saying
is like the car's like in love with
the driver?
the driver.
The kid, the teenager
The
who buys
teenager,
it.
yeah.
The nerdish boy.
The nerdish boy.
Okay.
And like basically anyone who gets close to him, the car's like, no, you're done. Goodbye.
And,
It's like
kills
very
him.
jealous girlfriend.
But a car.
But a car.
I love it.
I know.
That's another like
With a full gas
almost
engine.
overly simple.
Right?
It's a
idea.
simple concept, but it works so well.
Yeah.
And it's been imitated so many times in other things. Like, have you guys
yeah.
ever seen Rubber?
No.
Rubber is about this like possessed tire that goes around killing an entire town.
What?
A similar concept. This is one of those like B-list like Sharknado movies or like
Okay.
Apocalypse.
Oh, like
or...
remember Killer Tomatoes? Do you remember that movie?
That.
Okay.
Like this is in line
Rubber.
with like Velocipaster.
What?
Oh.
What?
Speaking of bad horror movies.
Velocipaster? Like,
Velocipaster.
I think I know him. What the hell?
Yeah.
I can't.
No, that movie is. Y'all want to watch a weird movie? Watch Velocipaster. Like
Fair.
Thanks.
ninjas, dinosaurs, prostitute, just every.
In church?
And a priest. Anyways,
It's got everything.
I'm dying.
Rubber is one of those like B-list movies where you're just like, this should never have been made, but it's hysterically stupid.
So it's a tire. Okay.
It's a tire, but again, it's definitely inspired by things like Christine.
Oh, sure. I feel like all
easy.
horror nowadays. Well, good horror, like slasher horror, whatever. You don't really have. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a slasher fan.
Okay.
Someone with a mask and like.
Yeah, I'm not. And I know. Sorry, I know we have a lot of listeners. Sorry, Patrick. Like who are slasher fans. I don't like a lot of like. I don't know. I just don't like. Anyway, okay. Ready for the next one?
I'm ready. Here we go. Yeah, I think you'll know this one too. Sometimes dead is better. And don't forget to put out the cat before the cat puts out you.
Pet Sematary?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy. So the book actually came out in 83, but the movie did not come out till 89.
Dang.
So and I remember this one a lot. So the summary is, after tragedy strikes, a grieving father discovers an ancient burial ground behind his home with the power to raise the dead.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, this is one of the scariest to me. And Stephen King actually said of all his books, this is the only one that actually scares him.
Stephen King said that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah. Okay, so here's such a good trivia question, and I think Hunt might know it.
Okay.
All right. So Hunt, why was the word cemetery misspelled in the title?
Oh.
Now, you can tell me the reason they said in the movie, in the book, or the real life reason why he did that.
Don't.
Hold on. It's going to come to you. So
It's
I'm going
going
to
to
give you a
come
second.
to me.
Katie, sing the corn song.
There's more than corn in Indiana.
I am totally blanking right now because I have all of these.
As soon as I say it, you're going to be so
You're-
mad.
I am gonna be mad because
gonna
I
be
know
so
exactly what it is, and I just
I'm reading it.
cannot.
And,
See, he's
Yep.
going to be mad. Okay.
Mhm.
So in the movie, it's explained that kids.
It was
write the
yeah.
song. In real life, the story's not that different. So, as we said before, Stephen King was inspired by a lot of real life events.
Mhm.
So, like you actually already mentioned this, in the 70s, Stephen King and his family lived in Maine. They moved to this rural town, and they actually lived in a rural area by a road where giant 18-wheelers would zoom by, just like in the book and the movie,
Mhm.
and would take the lives of a lot of local pets. So, kids buried them in the nearby woods, just like the
Mhm.
movie, and wrote the sign Pet Cemetery, and they misspelled it. And he saw it. He came across it when they lived there, which helped inspired his book.
See, I knew in the movie it was because it was like a kid who'd done it, but
Yeah.
like I didn't know that
It was
based on a real one.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
So
That's a fact I didn't know.
So can you?
That's pretty cool.
We're
That's
teaching.
pretty cool.
We're teaching super fans
See?
today. Okay.
Because like again, I knew in the movie because it was the kid.
Well, I can't remember the origin because I don't know, but I thought it was so interesting because I'm picturing Stephen King living, in an area that looks like the place in the
Mhm.
movie, and him just coming across it, like walking in the woods in his house and being like having this whole story unfold in his head.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely sitting there like standing there looking at
Right?
the sign, and this whole story is just forming in his head. He's like, I gotta go home and write.
Right? Now, Katie,
Inspired.
have you seen Pet Cemetery?
That one I've seen.
I know
Yes.
you've seen it.
I
Have you
remember the
read
little
it?
boy.
I have read it.
Okay. So there is actually, I have another trivia question that I didn't write down, but it came in my head. So in the book, the ending is a little different than the movie.
Yes.
Do you know the difference? It's a tiny, tiny difference.
It is.
I'm putting him in the hot seat today.
But I'm also torn because like
It's not that big of a difference.
Yeah.
Is in the movie? It's
Uh-huh.
been forever since I've seen it. The cat comes back at the end, and that's how it ends, right?
Oh no, the cat is the first thing to come back.
But then doesn't happen at the very end again.
And then no, his wife dies. The kid. So all right.
Okay.
All right, spoiler alerts all over the place.
All right, here
so
we
the
go.
cat
You've seen
dies.
it though, right?
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
just been
it.
a while. So
I've
the
seen
cat
it.
dies
It's been a
first.
while.
Yeah, the cat dies first.
And so, they have the neighbor who advises him against it. Like,
don't bury your cat over there. Like,
Yeah.
don't bury your cat here because they come back and you don't want them to come back. And then the dad doesn't listen, so he does it. Well, then the cat's like evil and
Mhm.
horrible and possessed, so he has to kill the cat
Right.
again.
Right.
Then his little boy dies. He gets hit by an 18-wheeler. He's a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
This is when we have scary toddler kids that come back. His name's Gage.
I remember that. I remembered his name. was Gage.
And he
buries him in the pet cemetery.
He buries him in the pet cemetery. Then the
the
kid comes back.
Mhm.
And the mom is like going crazy at this point.
Mhm.
She's like, that's not my kid.
Yeah. Well, then he kills her, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. The
toddler
undead
kills the
her.
mom.
Okay. So then he kills the toddler, but then he takes the wife and buries her. So the end of the movie. So, it takes a little while for the undead to come back. So
Yeah.
he goes home. He's like playing cards and you hear the door open and in comes undead wife. And he's so excited and they start slow dancing. And in the movie, she reaches for a knife and she's about to stab him, but that's it.
It ends.
It ends.
In
Okay.
the
Lovely
in the
cliffhanger.
book, the whole knife scene doesn't happen. It's just he comes home and she's sitting there and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they added the extra with the knife and the thing,
drama,
just
yeah.
to give it a little more Hollywood zhuzh.
Okay.
But I feel like endings like that are always the creepiest.
But I feel so, and that's why I'm like, it's different, but I feel like they still imply the same thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's the thing is like you already know that anything that's coming back out
Right.
of that cemetery
It's not.
is not the same thing that you put in.
Mhm.
Correct.
Like that
And
cat.
that's what he says. He
Yeah.
says sometimes dead is better. Like just
So it's weird that like when he comes home and she's sitting there, like
Mhm.
it's implied that like you already know that she's not the same thing, and she's probably going to kill him.
yeah.
Right.
And then the movie like really kind of like it's implied in the book. In the movie, there's like, yeah, no, she's going to kill him.
Yeah. Like
Right
he has
now.
a knife.
Yeah, it's like
She's
she's
hugging
a knife.
him, grabbing a knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So,
but then like your brain is just wondering, like, well, then what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
now what? Now there's just some zombie walking around?
And does she bury him? And
She's
does
gonna
he
bury
come
him.
back?
They're
And
gonna, like,
then,
zombie
yeah.
apocalypse.
Right?
This is how it
Yeah.
starts.
I mean, but that's good. That's like when we were talking about the scary stories.
That's good.
Good. Let me clarify.
That's good.
Zombie apocalypse, not good. That sort of open-ended writing, good.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
No,
Right.
I do love how it kind of like leaves on a cliffhanger, and like
Huh.
it is slightly different in the book and the movie, but like I said,
I know.
the story's still the
Same.
same.
I was just
thing.
messing
Like,
with you. I
know
was
what's
just
gonna
throwing in a little bit there.
happen.
But I will say, I think I probably just said that whole scene wrong because I haven't watched this movie in like a decade.
Mhm.
Troy and I we were talking about Stephen King last night. He's like, we need to like rewatch some of these. And Cooper's like, I'm not watching that. I was like, oh no, no, you don't want to
No,
watch
you're
that
not.
cemetery.
Oh, bless.
All right. So here's my other trivia. I almost forgot. Stephen King has a cameo in this movie. He's the minister at one of the funerals. Missy, I don't remember who the character of Missy is. That's not the wife, right?
No,
Isn't that like the neighbor
I
lady?
think it's like yeah.
Or something. Anyway, that's what I found. I was like looking up random trivia. I found some weird stuff, but that one was a funny one. I was like, oh, how funny. He's not a great actor. Just
I was going to
FYI.
say, does he do that a lot?
Sometimes.
He's been in a handful of
Yeah.
his films. I mean, it's obviously not like Stanley.
Oh yeah, Stanley. I was thinking
Yeah.
Who's in like
Yeah.
every Marvel movie.
Yeah, Stanley.
Um,
Yeah.
But like Stephen King has like made cameos here and there.
Okay.
But again, like they don't really use him much because he cannot act.
he cannot act. He's absolutely terrible. I mean, like if you already know somebody's a bad actor just from a walk-on cameo role, then
Yeah, you might just want to leave
But
that
again,
alone.
He has this like such imaginative mind. He's a fantastic writer.
I
and
know.
It's like you
It's-
have an amazing talent. Like,
Right.
be proud.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, just do that thing.
Just
do that thing, and we'll bring in the actors for you.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
He's gonna know this one.
Yep, you're
This
going
will
to
go
know
quick.
this one. Here we go. They float, and when you're down here with me, you'll float too. Your every fear, all in one deadly enemy.
So that's it.
Yeah, we got that.
Yes.
Okay, I think we already said book came out in 86. The 2-night miniseries event, that's what they used to call them back in the day, guys.
Mhm.
Miniseries
The
event.
miniseries event was 1990. And you know what? As we were getting into like the 90s of Stephen King, a lot of his stuff weren't featured films, they were miniseries because they were his books are so long. I feel like they were trying to include more,
Mhm.
which you can't have in a 90-minute, 2-hour movie.
True.
It's got to be multiple hours
Mhm.
because there's several that we're about to talk about that were like that. So anyway, here's the summary if y'all hadn't figured it out before. It's 1967 preteen outcast fight an evil demon who poses as a child-killing clown. 30 years later, they reunite to stop the demon once and for all when it returns to their hometown
Okay.
of Derry, Indiana.
Terry.
Derry. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Not Gary. Derry.
No, ma'am, Derry.
Oh, okay.
There's also
okay.
a Derry in England, so I don't know. But anyway,
Okay.
all right, here's a trivia. Oh, dang, we already said. All right, my trivia was who played Pennywise, but we already said it was Tim Curry.
Mhm.
Let's see if you can name 3 other 80s or 90s movies he was in.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Uh-huh.
So we have Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
That was
That was
80s.
I think that was 80.
I think it was
80s.
80.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else was Tim Curry in?
Maybe even late 70s. It might have been late 70s.
He was in Clue.
He was in
Mhm.
Clue.
One of my
yes.
favorites.
All right,
I love
just guess
that one.
more.
I love Madeline Kahn. One more. Oh my god, I cannot think of another one.
He knows one.
I know, and I haven't watched
I
it.
know.
Which one?
Legend.
Legend.
I was
Oh.
shamed because I haven't
He's the
watched
devil
it.
in Legend.
Have you watched
The
it?
Devil in Legend. Yes.
Oh, it's so good. I can't wait to talk about that one. He was also in Home Alone 2.
Love that
Okay,
one.
that's how my kids know him.
Oh,
He was the the
exists.
Me
concierge,
too.
and then he was in Muppet Treasure Island. He was
That's right. He was the bad
pirate,
pirate.
yeah.
Yes. He was the cook.
oh yeah.
He was the cook who tried to outsmart them.
Yes, Tim
Anyway,
Curry.
okay,
Love that
so
one.
another thing about Tim Curry was, as I was reading stuff, some of his fellow actors said he was so creepy and realistic while he was filming that some of them avoided him during filming. But also on the flip side, the kid actors loved him. Like he would
Mm.
spend time like with them outside of filming, and there's pictures of him like like reading Mad Magazine with them in his whole fucking Pennywise mess. And I'm like, them kids are crazy. I've been like, no, sir. Like,
Take all that off and then we can read this
you know what?
magazine.
Another Xennial typic, Jonathan Brandis was in.
Oh, really?
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He was in the It miniseries. He was
Aw,
so cute.
Adorable.
All right.
Okay,
and like
we
we
already
already
said that.
talked, I already talked about that piece of trivia, so we'll see that one. Okay.
All right, moving on to number
two more.
9.
Two more.
We haven't
This
talked
one's
about
hard.
this one. This
No.
one's hard. Okay, Hunt, here we go. You can't run. You can't hide. You can only become one of them. And then the other tagline, something wonderful is happening in Haven. Pray it doesn't happen to you.
Ooh.
Late 80s for the book, early 90s for the miniseries event. This one's tricky. This is one of my least faves. Yeah.
It's not Sleepwalkers, is it?
No. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Tommy knockers, knocking at your door. Yeah, they have a whole like little thing.
That is such an
So-
obscure one.
I know. That's why I threw it in.
You threw it in
And
there.
the reason I did was because this was like his first foray into horror / sci-fi because there's
Mhm.
aliens. My mom also is a huge sci-fi person.
Okay.
So I remember this. I remember watching this with her when it was on. Here is the summary. The small town of Haven becomes a hotbed of inventions, all run by a strange green power device. The whole town is digging something up in the woods, and only an alcoholic poet can discover the secret of the Tommyknockers.
An alcoholic poet,
Isn't
you
that
say?
interesting? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Hunt, this is a very random one. Stephen King actually has described this as an awful book because he was in the depths of cocaine addiction when he wrote it.
Okay, so this is the one
So
you were
he hates
talking
this
about.
book, and I think it's probably because, like,
Horrible memories
Yeah.
or non-memories or just
Right.
like a really low point. Yeah.
yeah. So, have you seen this or read it?
I have seen it. It's been a while.
Same. Yeah. I was watching some clips and I was like, okay, it's coming back to me now. And I can see why he said it was awful. Like, it's
Really?
not great. It's not great.
It's one of the weird ones.
Yeah. I mean,
they're all weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very different from his. And now that I know that he was on cocaine, like while he was writing this, you can see how it's very different. I feel like it's a different feel, not just because it's sci-fi. I
Yeah.
feel like it was just not as developed.
Like his addiction era was a lot of like more bizarre things.
Mhm.
Like it came out of his addiction era as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
And The Shining, alcohol. I think he had different drugs of choice.
Different addictions.
Depending
yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like because it's weird to say. People are gonna hate me for it, but I think like his different addictions inspire different styles. Like his alcoholism, like ended up with things like The Shining. His cocaine addiction ended up with like It, and you're just like, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
And like Tommyknockers, which again, very obscure, very weird. I'm trying to actually remember this one because it's been a while since I've seen it. It's just a really
You
weird
can be a super fan and not know all his works. It's
Yeah.
okay. He has a
Especially
lot.
him. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We're not doubting your super fandom, okay?
No, not at all.
This one, okay, so I'm going to do you the trivia question. It's going to be kind of hard, but you might be able to guess. So we were just talking about different endings. This miniseries ending is different than the book. So they changed it for TV, I think, to be a little more like with closure. So can you guess how the book ends different?
See, I haven't read the book.
Oh, you haven't read the book. Well, then you may not know. Okay, so in the book, everybody dies at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's dead. In the
Whoa.
miniseries, the people's minds, if you find out, are controlled by 3 characters that are trapped in a crystal.
Okay.
So ta-da. I don't know. We can move on.
Well, I think it's a very common thing.
Yeah.
Because like there are so many times like they will change endings, especially of like horror films, to kind of make the audience feel a little better.
Yes.
Like go back to theater for a second.
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Stage play, everyone's dead.
Yep.
Like at the end, like they all die.
Not to ruin it for y'all who haven't seen it. Yeah.
Spoiler
for real,
alert.
though.
But in the movie,
Yeah, they don't.
they don't. They actually end up killing the plant.
And then they go to their little house. What is the song?
Somewhere
Yeah.
that's green.
Somewhere that
Somewhere
they go to
that's
the little somewhere that's green.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of interesting though, because psychologically, people who are watching films, because so books and like stage plays, like you know that, first of all, the book characters aren't real.
Correct.
Stage play, you see them come out for battle. So they can all die at the end, but you know that the actor's not actually dead.
Mhm.
In films, because you don't, like, these are people you're watching act, and people will think that if they die in a film, they're actually dead. So a lot of times films will change endings to make them a little bit more happy
Interesting.
and like make you think that people
It's
survive.
like a human nature thing.
Yeah, it's
Weird.
Psychoanalysis with Hunt today.
It's weird. And like there's a lot of horror films that will, like, that's why we get the trope of like the final girl.
Yeah. Oh, final girl. Yeah. 'Cause there's got to be somebody
There's,
left.
you have to have
final
someone
girl.
survive. You have to have that kind of feel good moment, especially in horror films. Like, people don't like it if you just kill everyone
That's
off
right.
and like go black screen and start rolling credits.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can
Even
see
an
that.
open ending like Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see him
Because you
die.
didn't see him die.
Yeah. That's a good point.
See?
Maybe he grabbed her arm and
Probably
Maybe
not.
they lived happily ever
probably
after.
not.
Yeah.
And she was like, just kidding. I was just testing you.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like you
I love you
guys
so
would probably
much.
be final girls. I'd be the first to die. Just so you know. If I do, I think y'all would be good
It's
final
because
girls.
you
See,
don't have
I
your
would-
wisdom teeth.
You'd be the
I'm an
first to
idiot.
go.
Be like, this girl.
No, it's just because I am not trying to fight to the death anything that's
Yeah, that's
scary.
fair.
I'm not doing
That's
that. I'll
fair.
just die. It's just like if there's an apocalypse, I'm dead. Because
I mean,
once
we
my AC
faced-
goes out, forget it.
We faced the cockroach in the kitchen and you ran away.
Yeah, see?
What if there's a bigger one in there where you ran?
That was the whole plan. There's like a giant cockroach waiting to eat me.
Yeah, it's
And
like,
they're
we
like,
just gotta-
put the baby in there.
Uh-huh.
See? I'd be the
See,
first to die.
that would have been it.
It's like in Scream, you know, the girl where they're having the party. Rose McGowan.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she goes in to get like, oh, I'll go to the garage. You guys are so scared, whatever. And then she dies in the garage door opener. I'm like,
Yeah.
that'd be me. Like, that'd be me. All right, whatever. I mean, we have one more, Hunt.
Okay.
Here we go.
And then if you
Um,
have any facts we have not addressed, we will get to those.
Yes. Okay.
This
so
one only
this
has one tagline.
only has one tagline. Here we go. The end of the world is just the beginning.
The end of the world is just the beginning.
This is 90s. Now, this one, I'm going to give you a hint. It was a 4-part miniseries. It was very long book. I looked up the audiobook the other day and it was 48 hours.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The end of the world
Yeah.
is just the beginning. I don't know what
The
that would be.
Stand.
The Stand.
Yes. Okay.
That's
So-
a good tagline for that one.
Yes, right. There was only one
Yeah.
tagline. I was like, oh, okay.
It's not super descriptive.
Yeah.
Well, once we read you the summary, you'll see why. So
I'll
the
see.
book came out in 90. The 4-part miniseries came out in 94.
Okay.
And I also remember it was the same time as Tommyknockers. It wasn't too long after that, but I remember watching this as well with my mom, and it was really good. It was I still remember it.
Mhm.
And if I can find somewhere to stream it, because it's dystopian. All right. So
Mhm.
here we go. After a deadly plague kills most of the world's population, the remaining survivors split into 2 groups. One led by a benevolent elder and the other by a malevolent being. Okay. To face each other in a final battle between good and evil. So, I mean, that's not a brand new tale. Like, there's a lot of like dystopian, like good and evil, fight. But I don't know. It was really good. But here is a Xennial trivia piece. Okay, first of all, it might crumble to the ground and be a mess because if you've never watched the miniseries, you're not going to know. Have you ever seen the miniseries?
I have.
Okay, you have.
Again, it's been a while.
Okay, but if I say this, you might know. And I'm so excited because I forgot this until I looked it up. All right, Hunt. What 2 Brat Packers were in the miniseries?
oh God, I have no idea.
Stumped in.
I forgot they were in it.
This is cool.
So Molly Ringwald, okay, is
Yeah.
one. She plays Franny, who's one of the main characters, and then Rob Lowe plays Nick.
Ah.
Yeah.
See, I think this is because I don't have extensive knowledge of the Brat.
I know. That's before your time. That's before your time.
Yeah.
It's really technically before our time, but we know
Yeah.
a lot about him anyway.
We're
So,
adjacent.
we are
Xennial
Also,
adjacent.
adjacent.
love Molly Ringwald.
I know,
Me
right?
too.
I didn't know she was in the Brat Pack.
Okay, did you read this book? Because it's long AF.
It is very long. In fact, this book took him 3 years to write.
Yeah, it's so long.
He actually was inspired by Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah, so he
oh,
was-
that makes sense
He
now
wasn't,
that I know
and
that.
he wanted to make something like as epic and in the style of this. It took him 3 years to write because of the number of characters.
Oh, yeah,
and the
so many.
storylines. Like, this is a complex. Like, there's just so many things weaving in and out, and you're just like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
but it's epic.
It's super good.
Mm.
I think you would like this one, Katie, because
Okay.
it's not like traditional horror.
Yeah.
It's more.
It's very dystopian.
Yeah, it's very dystopian. Like, I mean, I almost feel like it's kind of sci-fi, but not really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the right word.
No.
Sorry, I'm not. Well, today.
Sci-fi's not the word.
wrong.
It's something else, but
Really?
It sounds
It's a
interesting.
dark fantasy.
Okay,
Mhm.
there we go.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with sci-fi, everyone.
Yeah, no, it's
Jesus.
very it's a fantasy. It's a dark fantasy,
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic, very dystopian. It's very I call it like an epic, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it is. And it makes me think, like, I love all the post-apocalypse stuff, like This Is Us, like, not This Is Us, Jesus Christ. The Last of Us.
Last of Us.
Everyone's gonna be like, This Is Us. Hello.
Us, yeah. Last of
The
Us.
Last of Us,
Mhm.
which, is a modern series right now based on a video game, and it
Mhm.
is so good. But it has to do with like a deadly plague comes and people are
Mhm.
surviving. And this is a little different because there is some like groups that are fighting each other, whatever. But anyways, here's another funny Xennial piece of trivia. It's not a question, just a statement. So the art directors needed to figure out how a magic 8-ball worked for a certain scene in the miniseries. Like they want to know how it like works. So they called the toy company who makes the magic 8-ball, and they refused to tell them the secret of the magic 8-ball. And then I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, but isn't it just like a friggin' shape and like liquid that it floats around?
Like a
there's not-
weighted
like it doesn't seem
thing.
like
It's
that's.
a multi-sided die inside of a ball of like oil.
Hello, engineer. Like these
Thank
art
you.
directors could not figure that out. I was like, why you gotta call it like, oh my God, like how do you make an 8-ball? Like take it apart and see. Like
Yeah.
no.
Reverse engineer it.
Exactly.
It's like it's not very smart, but whatever.
Yeah, it's literally just a multi-sided die, and
I
when
know.
you shake it just moves around because it got like floats in there,
Mhm.
so it just rolls around, and then just whatever piece floats to the top
Yeah.
and hits the glass.
Yeah, that's it.
Signs point to yes.
Science points, yes.
Quick side story, which might explain why I did not read a lot of Stephen King or watch his miniseries / movies. My mom got me an 8-ball for Christmas when I was like 9 or 10, and my dad made her take it back because he
Why?
didn't want like the magic or whatever it was in our house.
Wow.
Like he was pissed. My mom's
Wow,
like,
really?
My mom was probably like, it's a multi-sided dye in oil. And he was like, I can't believe you would bring that
It's
in here.
witchcraft in
Whoa.
my
So I didn't get
Wow.
to keep it.
Meanwhile, in my house, it's like family movie night, watching it. Let's go.
Sit down, get your popcorn.
My mom also had this whole thing. I should not lay all her government out there, but like she also had this whole theory that like about aliens.
Mhm.
I'm not even going to say it because
Okay,
so
we'll save it. We'll save it
We'll
for
do an X-Files
when
episode.
we need fodder.
I'm like sitting
Yes.
here as like my brain. I don't usually think before I speak, but I'm like, like
I
sitting here
saw the wheels.
thinking. I was like, oh God, this is
turning.
just gonna go in a place, and we'll just let it stay.
There
there.
was like steam coming out of
All
your
right.
ears.
Was
Yeah,
it
It
back to our
was
magic
like
8-balls?
It's so
Yeah,
much.
all
It's so
that.
much.
Those things are awesome, by the way.
They
They
fun.
are. We need one
I
for in
actually
here.
use one at work, and whenever I like don't want to, like, so people like message me at work, and I'm like, if I don't want to respond or like I'm annoyed by their message, I will honestly use the magic 8-ball to respond.
And you throw it at them or something?
I wish. No. I'll just shake the ball and be like, they'll be like, can I do this, this, this? And I'm just like,
Signs point to me.
signs point to get it. No. Try again later.
Yeah, try again later. Thanks. What does it say when it doesn't know? It says, oh crap.
Well, don't ask me. I
something's
never
happening.
have.
Poor Katie.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more like little fun facts or anything you wanted to share that we did not get to? We talked about a lot today, and we stumped a super fan. That's so
You
fun.
did.
That's our favorite.
I don't think we've done that yet.
Let's see here. Ooh, we didn't really talk about Misery
Oh shit, we did.
or Shawshank Redemption.
I know. I had to stop because like I had 10 and then we were
Yeah.
at the mid 90s and I was
Yeah.
like, I tried to only keep it with 80s and 90s.
Is Misery
It is
the
in the
Kathy
90s.
Bates?
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of the Kathy Bates ones.
Yeah, she's in.
Oh.
She's in quite
Was
a
she in-
few.
Was she in Needful Things? No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
She's been in a couple of them, and I feel like because a lot of the earlier Stephen King's are like they're like very common directors. I feel like one of the directors just had a thing for Kathy Bates.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Because like she's been in a couple of Stephen King things, most notably Misery. But then I think there was one that was like
Dolores Claiborne, was she in that one?
yes, that's the one.
Look
Well,
at
like it was
me.
very specifically like for her.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
She was just so good in Misery.
She's a
And
great
Dolores
actress.
Claiborne. Yeah.
I love her.
I love her
Um,
too.
Did you see Misery, Katie?
So
didn't know that.
Misery is another one of my like.
Katie's like, no.
I love Kathy Bates though.
Misery
like
is
one of
another
my
one of my
favorites.
like.
You would like it. Well, I mean,
bet.
it's violent, but
It's violent. It's another one of my like favorite ones. It's really like big into pop culture.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's about this.
another writer.
Again, a lot of
know.
his things revolve around writers,
The main
and
character is a
poets and
writer.
authors
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And it's again like Stephen King's like really pulling from his own life here. A lot of his main characters are writers. But so it's this author. He's driving down this road in the winter. He gets in a car accident. He's like badly hurt, and he gets saved by this woman. And this woman turns out to be like a super fan, like fanatic, like obsessed with
But like
him.
psycho fan.
Psycho fan.
Like dangerous.
And
Yeah.
she
Okay.
finds in his bag the latest version of his new book, and she finds out that he kills off one of her favorite characters, and she's pissed. Like she's like holding him hostage.
So she's like torturing him to make him rewrite.
to rewrite the book.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And meanwhile, this guy's like trying to escape.
And she's like beats his, that's the one scene I like.
Yeah.
She's like beating his leg so he can't get up and walk.
Yeah. She
With
breaks
like what does she use? Like a pipe or some
it
shit?
was a
I don't know.
mallet or something.
Oh, I don't know. A pipe, like for
She breaks his legs so that he can't
Yeah.
leave. And then I think as like a local cop or something gets called out, and she kills the cop.
Yeah, girl.
Dang.
We're just telling you the whole movie.
Yeah.
Now I must see it.
is definitely it's one of those psychological ones.
Yeah, it's,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
But it's again one of the ones that's really popular. I feel like a lot of Stephen King things get like reference in like pop culture.
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff
they
like
do,
that.
for sure.
Like, if you're ever a fan of like Family Guy, they do a whole episode based on Stephen King novels.
Yeah.
And they're hysterical because they force all their characters into the Stephen King.
I feel like
characters.
Simpsons had at least
Simpsons
two.
have done it before.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think he had a voice. You know how The Simpsons does their Treehouse of Terror every year
Stephen King has voiced Stephen
Uh-huh.
King
on
on
there.
The Simpsons. It's funny
Yeah.
that you mentioned The Simpsons because
I know.
Cooper was watching it and I
I
was
know.
like, Stephen King's been on The Simpsons.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny.
That's so cool.
But that's kind of how pop culture goes. Like, it just
Mhm.
kind of trickles into each other.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Misery. So that's one to add to your list.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might go to that one first.
Shawshank Redemption, I feel like is a lot. It's less scary.
Do you know, I have never seen that.
You've never
I know, Troy about died on the
Wow.
floor.
I've actually seen that one.
I have never seen that. I've never
A lot
seen
of
The Green
times.
Mile. That's also Stephen King.
Oh,
That's like-
do you have like trouble watching movies where people are incarcerated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the more I have like learned in recent years about like our
Right.
prison system, I can't.
I have trouble watching it now too. Like there's the TV show where they like the big lockup or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't watch it.
Yeah, and you know, like a few years ago when this is going to take a turn, but we'll get back. When I lived in Virginia, I was in a mom's group and I became friends with a gal who was incarcerated wrongly. And as a mom, like a young mom, it was an abusive situation and all these things. And to hear stories of like reality and then what our society does to people once they've been
Mhm.
incarcerated is also terrible. So I don't enjoy.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
enjoy
hard.
that.
It's hard to watch. Obviously the word redemption's in it, so you get a little satisfaction from it.
I mean, I know about
Yeah.
the story,
But seeing
So-
what the system does to people, in that case wrongly accused, but also even maybe rightfully accused, like Morgan Freeman's character comes to mind, who did do something, but
Yeah.
he ends up as a young black man, you know, he robs a store or
Yeah.
something
Mhm.
and then ends up being in prison until he's like 70 or
Yeah, he's,
whatever.
like, in
And
prison
it's
for life
just
for-
so sad.
because that happens so much, even
Mhm.
now, like it's ridiculous. Anyway, whatever. We won't get on that soapbox today. It's coming
Mm-mm.
one day.
But it's a really good. It's a great book. It's an amazing film. I think
Mhm.
it won awards.
It did. It
Yeah.
did.
It's less scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of those ones that makes you think. It's very deep. It's more of his like deeper work.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a wrongfully accused man ends up in prison and just like has to deal with so much and
Yeah.
like the redemption part. Spoiler alert. The
We have
redemption.
so many. So many today.
Oh yeah, no. Anyone who's watching this, like, I just ruined everything.
Oh, yeah.
Watching, listening. Like the redemption part is, him breaking out and continuing to, getting back to a life. I'm not gonna say his life
I
because he
know.
can't go back to his life,
Right.
but he's at least able to go back to a
A
life.
life.
A life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just even the way he gets out, you know, like through the sewer pipes and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
poop and the
Yeah.
it's just like
And that's
oh
one of the things too about like the detail in the
Mhm.
books. Like, I'm not like, you're reading the book and you're like, I can smell the sewer.
Yeah.
Right.
You're sitting there in a room full of Febreze and you smell that pipe and you're just like,
It was full of Febreze.
That's
that's what I was like, you
lovely.
have
A
the
room
most
full of
amazing
Febreze.
smelling room, but you're reading this book and
Yeah.
you're like, reading the detail he puts into it and you're just like, I
No.
can smell it. Gross.
I
Gross.
Going outside.
totally feel that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So obviously Stephen King,
I know, we have so much.
gigantic topic. And
I know.
really on this show, we know we can't talk about everything about everything. So if we missed your favorite book or your favorite
So
movie,
sorry.
we're sorry. But we can always have Hunt back.
Again.
For
And we're
that.
gonna have him on the after show. So become a
Yes.
patron and you can hear what else we're gonna talk about.
Absolutely. I love that. Was there anything else big, though, that we didn't touch on? You mentioned Misery and Shawshank Redemption. I'm glad you brought those up at the end because those are some big ones.
I feel like we kind of covered all like the big ones.
We
that-
did.
Cool.
And we even covered some of the obscure ones,
I
which
know.
I love. You
See?
stumped me. That was great.
I love that.
Um,
Market and history.
And like I was saying too, is like there's so much of his content that
So
you really
much.
can't cover all of it. Like,
No.
I will say though, if you are a Stephen King fan, I fully recommend, if you haven't already, go read some of his collections of short stories because a lot of the stuff that he did when he was in college and stuff that he sold to the Cavalier magazine, like he's republished. And like they're short stories, but they're fantastic. His writing at the beginning was just so phenomenal. It still is phenomenal to this day. But some of his earlier works, like getting to see like the evolution of his work, like I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Okay,
good
we'll do
advice.
that.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you again to Hunt for coming. Yay. So
Yay.
exciting.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for listening and joining us on Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast. So if you liked what you heard today, share us with your friends and family of all generations. We do not discriminate. We welcome all here and we explain it all if you don't know what we're talking about. So give us a follow and a review wherever you listen. Those help us so, so much. Give us those reviews. Give us those 5 stars. 5 stars. Okay, everybody?
5
Not
or
four,
nothing.
5 or nothing. And give us a follow and like on all the socials and just ignore our TikTok for now. We don't know what's happening.
It's
I don't
okay.
know.
Go check it out.
No, I mean, just keep to our Insta reels. We're middle-aged. All right. If you really like us, like we said, join our Patreon, get access to more episodes, and merch is coming. I've been working on it. Yay!
Yes.
Thanks so much again to our special super fan guest Hunt. And if you are a super fan of something Xennial and you want to be a guest, send us a message. We love having friends over, don't we?
We do.
We have a great time. So until next time, remember, some things it don't pay to be curious about. That's from Pet Cemetery.
Ooh. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hello, Generation in Between ladies. This is your new listener, Sarah with no H. And I have just started listening to all of your podcasts from the beginning. And my comment is about your podcast about the different novels from when we were growing up. And you mentioned the Babysitters Club, and I just wanted to add a few things to it that you missed. Well, one was Christy was the athlete. Claudia was the artist, Marianne was the brainiac, and Stacy was the glamorous one from New York City. But the most important thing about her was that she had diabetes. In her first book, The Truth About Stacy, they talk all about that, and they would always bring it up in every book. And I always found that to be very fascinating that they talked about that. And then also you forgot a very important members who joined later. So there was Dawn, who came from California, and she ended up becoming really good friends with Marianne, and then her mom ended up marrying Marianne's father, and they became stepsisters. There was also Logan, who was an alternative member, who was Marianne's boyfriend, and then you also had all junior members, who were Jesse and Mallory. And Jesse was the only black character, and Mallory was the redhead. And then as far as your Judy Blume books were concerned, you forgot one of the most salacious Judy Blume teenage novels, and that was Forever, where the girl in the book has many sexual experiences with her boyfriend, And I remember being very young and reading that and just very fascinated with all of her thoughts and everything that she was doing. And that was a very risque book at the time. So again, I am so happy to have found your podcast. It's awesome to be able to relive all of these generation in between memories with you guys. And I look forward to being able to comment more. Thank you. Peace.